Hey everyone! Today I want to address the FOMO that we can sometimes have as guardians when we look at other trainers or other guardians who are doing amazing things with their animals, and then we look at what we're doing with our animals and we go, oh, I'm not doing enough. So what I like to always bring this back to is it's really about your individual relationship with your animal. It's not about trying to put that relationship into a cookie cutter idea of what it should be. It's really about, figuring out what you would like from your relationship and how you would like that to look. And that really helps you figure out how to get there, because when you are being very specific about what you are looking for, what you would like your animal to do, what you think you need to tweak or refine to bring more harmony and happiness and balance into your relationship, you are then able to come up with a plan that's very specific to that problem and that relationship that you have, and it doesn't need to come with all these other things that you feel that you're supposed to do because someone else does it. So I wanted to give an example of this because obviously I could be someone who other people look at and go, oh my gosh, look at your dogs, they're so amazing, they're just sitting here nice and calm, and my dog would never do that. So I want to talk about the fact that I have a very few fundamental behaviors that I like my dogs to do. And honestly, because I've done a bit of work with that earlier on, and I've periodically over Astra is 8, so it's been 8 years for her. It's been, I think Safi's nearly 4 now. So it's a long time that I've been doing a very small amount of training on particular behaviors over a long period of time, that I have been able to really not have all this training that I have to do every single day. And honestly, I do not train every day. I do not train every week because I've focused on the things that I want my dogs to do that will help us have a really good relationship. And then I've done some training on that. I've established a really good association that they have with those behaviors. Like right now, sitting calmly means that they get pats, right? So they are happy to do that behavior, and I don't have to do all this training specifically to get them to sit here nicely, because I'm rewarding them with touch, which is fine. It's easy for me to do that. And if they choose, they will hop down. So it's about, they want to do this behavior. And when you are focused on those few behaviors that you want from your dog, and you do some focused training around that for a little while, it doesn't have to be forever. But if you get that behavior established, you don't have to train every day. You don't have to train every week. You just have to every now and then maybe brush up on that behavior or give a reward occasionally for that behavior. But it really doesn't need to be this overwhelming training schedule that we can fall into the trap of thinking that it is. Now, I've just talked about this in my email newsletter this week. If you don't want to do competition sports with your dog, then you don't have to teach them all those behaviors. If you don't want to have a dog that does, crazy tricks and parkour off your body, you don't have to train that. It might look like amazing and you might think, man, I wish my dog could do that. But if you don't actually want that, you don't have to go through the process of feeling like that is what you're supposed to do. So what do I train my dogs? I have a couple of things. I really like a strong drop with my dogs, because then I can ask them to go to their bed when I have guests, and so there's not this crazy dogs everywhere and people's feet, and I like to have calmness when I have people over. So I've taught a very good drop, and connected to that I've taught go over there and drop, go over to that bed and drop. So that's one of the fundamental behaviors that I've taught. And sometimes I need to brush up on that, especially with this one. Sometimes she goes, do you really mean you want me to go to your bed? Like, I could just stay here. So with this, Astra is very good at this behavior, but at Safi, not so much. She knows it, she's very aware of it, but sometimes she can go, you know what, do you really mean it this time? So I have to every now and then brush up on that and do a little bit of training on that, but honestly, it is not regular. It's not regular at all. The other thing that I focus on is, I guess you could call it bark training. So Safi gets anxious and she'll do some barking. Astra is quite good at this. She often comes back to me and we have connection time when she's anxious and worried, but I'm still training Safi to understand that when she's barking, she can come back to me and we can do something else. We can redirect that behavior into something else. So that's a situational training setup. So when she's barking at something outside, I go, hey, let's come and do something else. So it's like life training that gets involved in our day. So that's another thing. I also, because she is a cavoodle and she has this non-shedding fur, I have to do grooming with her. So I've done quite a bit of grooming training because I want to have cooperation. Every time I move my hand away, she's like, please keep patting me. So yeah, I have to do, positive reinforcement with her and her grooming because I always want her to have consent with that. And I also want her to allow me to do it so it's not a head war. So we do that. Every now and then, again, Safi will not come when called. So I have to go, oh, this is getting really bad. And I will do some recall games. But honestly, with her, I have had to modify my expectation. Astra is very good with recalls. Safi is a little bit of a different brain when it comes to recalls. So I've modified the way I look at asking her to come back. That's just my personal preference to how I deal with the situation. But every now and then, once a blue moon, I will do some recall games just to reignite the motivation for them to come when called. And then lastly, my biggest cue that I use with my dogs is the yes cue. So whenever I want something and they do it, I use the word yes to mark that and to then reward it. And apart from that, that does not happen every day. It does not happen every week because, I've been establishing these behaviors over a few years. But even then, like I did more focus when they were younger. We got the behavior. And then after that, when you get the behavior that you want and the dog is happy to do it, all it is occasionally maintaining that behavior afterwards. So, what are we looking at? We're looking at 5 behaviors that I do fairly regularly or not regularly. So hopefully it gives you this idea that, if you sit down and you figure out, what do I want my dog to do? Make a little list, keep the list really short. Do not write down all the things you can train your dog. Just look at the things that you would benefit and your dog would benefit from knowing and learning, and then focus on those and do mini sessions of that while you're training it, because shorter is better. It's better for their learning. They don't need hours of training. In fact, I would never recommend that. You need minutes, 5-7 minutes max. And when you establish that behavior, all you have to do is occasionally maintain it. So keep it personal, keep it relevant to you and your relationship. You can admire other people and what they're doing with their animals, but honestly, it's about you finding balance with your animal, finding that happy medium, and it doesn't have to look like some trainers out there who can do these amazing things because, you know, obviously that is a passion of theirs and it might not be what you want or what you need from your animal relationship, and that is perfectly fine.